what's going on? Rasati out here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. I have been busy, trying really hard to make sure that I make it to the end of this year, and provide quality content. Try to be a little bit entertaining, and I'm enjoying the daily dose progress. I'm enjoying creating new posts, like new formats for the posts and everything. But I'm still quite far from my goal of being consistent. I still have these dreams of, engaging with people and the $80 marketing strategy that Gary Vee talked about years ago. I'm still struggling to implement, you guys. As much as I speak to people on a daily basis and my DMs are filled all the time with people and their reactions to things, accounts that I've interacted with, reposting other people's content, all of that. I enjoy all of it. But I feel like I'm still so far away from the kind of marketing strategy that I think would really, really help. Lately, I've been picking up Brendan Kane's How to Get a Million Followers, mostly because I'm just intrigued with the marketing strategy. As much as I understand marketing and community marketing and grassroots marketing, I understand it on one level. I want to see it from people who have the kinds of follower accounts that I'm looking to achieve at some point. So obviously I'm going to look for people who've already done it so I can get their strategies. I can see what they're capable of and see marketing from their point of view so I can maybe consider things that I've never considered before. So with all that being said, I came across a couple of parenting accounts, which I really and truly love. And one of them is one of my favorites. It happens to be Damari Dickinson. She and I were part of August Crenshaw's coaching program, and I really loved getting to know her because she believes in positive and purposeful parenting. And she put up a post the other day that says, punishing your kids does not teach them how to do better. And I wanted to kind of like expound on that a little bit because, hey, I'm a parent and I've been a teacher. And even then, outside of the parenting realm, punishing doesn't actually teach people very well. At least I don't think so. It's not the way that our parents used to do things. Back in the day, they would tell us we had to do things a certain way. Otherwise, there's a resulting consequence, right? There is something that's going to happen that will make us feel bad for our behavior. It would correct our behavior. And a lot of times when they corrected it, it wasn't right away when we made the mistake. It was delayed. Like if I acted up in public, which is usually the only time that I tried to act up because I knew she couldn't tell me off in front of everybody. So I tried my luck, when I was younger. And so when she'd get back home or get in the car is when I'd get told off. And at that point, I had forgotten what I had done, or I was hoping that she would forget that I had done something bad. And when she corrected me, it didn't feel like it was connected to that act at all. It was kind of delayed and, it didn't make sense to me. But the way that I was raised and the way I'm raising my daughter are worlds apart. I realize for her specific character, right? If I tell her off, she tends to get that, deer caught in the headlights look in her face, and she starts to shut down. And I can see herself and her mind just going through how terrible she is and how horrible she is. And she's going through a shame thing instead of a guilt thing. She's shaming herself. She's telling herself she's a bad person for having committed a mistake, rather than saying, oh my gosh, this mistake was not a good choice for me, and it's a choice that I can make differently the next time I'm in that same situation again. So for me, I realized punishment does not help my kid. Punishment does not say, okay, well, here's how you do it better. Instead, it says, don't do this or I will punish you. I will hurt your feelings on purpose, is what it feels like to me. So now the way I tackle parenting is more like, okay, well, you made a mistake and it didn't end up very well. Let me show you how it might have ended up if you'd chosen a different path. It's almost like a choose your own adventure now. So if you chose one strategy and it didn't work out the way you thought, I'm going to show you, if I can show you, otherwise I'm going to tell you what would happen if you chose a different path and the consequences of those things. So we try really hard to have discussions in my house, but I realize that this helps with employees and spouses and siblings and friends as well. Rather than tell them off and shame them or guilt them into feeling really bad about something that they did, I would rather tackle why they chose to do what they did and then talk about what the end result was, and then brainstorm about how we could have done it differently. What was the end result you were looking for and how can we get there instead, because the way you chose didn't quite get you there. So I'd rather have a discussion and a brainstorm session rather than tell you off or punish you or make you feel bad for something you did wrong. Because after all, I want to encourage people making mistakes. Not the same mistakes over and over, hear me out. But make mistakes, meaning to say that you try something different. You try something for the first time. You try something and see if you can get to where you want to be on your own without asking for help. And then once you make a mistake, you maybe ask for help or, seek some kind of guidance, a counsel or tutorial or something so you can get to that result a little bit faster. But I realize that punishment isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Like back in the day, we were physically punished. I don't know about you, but there were times where my mom beat me, and there were times where my mom would make me kneel in a corner for hours at a time, or she would allow my brothers and my cousins to go off and play where I was grounded and I had to sit and watch them from a window playing, but I couldn't join in. It was like the worst form of torture to me. But I realized that I didn't really learn that what my behavior was good or bad. It was more like I felt like my parents didn't love me as much. Like I was always constantly being picked on. Because if I look back at it at the moment, I can't tell you what I got punished for, but I can definitely tell you what the punishments were. And perhaps it's the way my memory worked. It's perhaps what I replayed in my head about what happened that day. And so I only remember the things that went wrong or the things that they did that were bad and painful and shameful and hurtful, rather than remembering what it is that I did to deserve them in the first place. Now, sometimes I can recall. Sometimes I was lying to them about something because I was, again, trying to avoid pain and punishment, and I thought I could get away with it, so I would lie, only to find out that, it's double trouble if I get caught lying because I made the mistake and then I lied to cover it up, and yeah, I should get double trouble, right? But in this day and age, it doesn't work like that. And yeah, I know we call them the strawberry generation because they bruise easy, right? They get very upset very quickly. But I also feel like we're in a age of information where it would be more helpful to educate them rather than to belittle them like we were. Beating does not work. Punishments like being grounded don't always work. I will say this though, rather than ground them, I will stop my daughter sometimes from doing things that she really, really loves in order to drive home the point that you could have done this differently. For instance, what I will do is tell her, okay, in the beginning of the day, you have this many things that you need to accomplish. Almost like, you list of chores. She doesn't really have chores. It's more educational and academic for her. So she's decided she wants to be the best in her class and she wants to be better than she was this year when it starts the new year, right? And so I've decided, okay, well, if you want my help, this is what we got to do. You've got to practice your math. You got to practice your reading. You got to practice comprehension, stuff like that. So each day you're going to dedicate at least a half an hour to each of these subjects so that you can get better. But I also know that her attitude is going to get in her way. Some days she's going to want to do it, it's going to breeze through, she'll be great. And some days she's not going to be in the mood and it's going to drag on forever. So the consequence for her is if she wants to go downstairs and play with her friends in the afternoons, she needs to get all of this done by noon. Which means she needs to make sure she gets up on time. I'm not going to drag her out of bed. It is the holidays. If she wants to sleep in, fine. But she needs to keep that goal in mind. I want to go downstairs to play with my friends, so I got to get this stuff done. So if I wake up late, I got to really focus and get it done. So she knows exactly how much work she needs to do every day. She gets up and she gets it done. Some days, though, when I'm going over the work and telling her what she did and she didn't do wrong, what maybe was the difficulty she was having, try to get through, the logic she used to get to the answer that she had in math, perhaps, she gets an attitude sometimes and she wants to fight me. So she needs to realize at some point, though, everything she does costs her some time. And if she gets to the time where she's supposed to go downstairs and play or whatever, and she's still not done with her homework, it's on her. So then it's the responsibility that she's been given from the beginning of the day, and not like a punishment at the last minute because I'm trying to control her still. It's more like she has more of a choice. She understands what the consequences are way ahead of time, and so she can plan it out as the day goes. She can keep watching the clock. She can watch her attitude. If she's having a tough time, she can ask for help. There are so many other ways that this can go, and I feel like it gives her a measure of independence and a sense of responsibility because it's in her hands whether she controls this or not. Now, some days she's not going to feel that way, and I'm going to have to sit down and lecture her, and it's going to take some time. I get it. But for the most part, as a 9-year-old, she's doing pretty well with this, and it's helping me as well because I'm not dragging her through her schoolwork. I'm not pushing her to do all these things. She knows if she wants to go do this, she needs to get these done first. Like back in the day, right? If you wanted to earn an allowance, you had to do a certain set of chores, and you were offered an allowance. Like, I didn't grow up that way, but I know a lot of my friends did when I was in the US. So they would tell me about how, they didn't get their chores done and they didn't get the allowance, which means they couldn't save up to buy whatever it was that they wanted. Maybe it was, gum, or it was, new nail polish or makeup or whatever, or maybe it was a video game that they were really, really saving up for. But the point is, back then, they had a sense of responsibility. They had to manage the money on their own, which also means if in the event that they earned money and somebody came along to bully them and take their money from them, they had to manage that as well. They had to learn the responsibility of finding a way to set a boundary or stand up for themselves to keep whatever it was that they earned. And it's a very different feeling when you earn your privileges than when you expect them all the time. Now, baby girl may seem spoiled sometimes, and she does have an attitude. She does still pitch a fit, but it's because she's bucking the system. She's trying to press her luck. It's a part of her establishing her own authority and trying to push her own boundaries so that she has a little bit more space to be herself, which at that point is not my job to smush her back down into the box I created her in, but more than that, to understand why it is that she feels like she deserves more space, and so that I can figure out how I can get her to earn that space rather than tell her no, she can't have it right off the bat. So it's a different form of parenting. I'm doing the best I can, but I know that punishing doesn't always work. Punishing, just like giving feedback or criticism, needs to be immediate. It needs to be clear, concise, so that they know exactly what they need to correct. It's not about their character all of a sudden. It's not about, are you dumb? Are you stupid? Did you not know any better? Were you born in a barn? None of those things at all. It's more like, hey, you realize you did this, right? And this specifically had this effect. And so you ended up here instead of where you wanted to be originally. So then the next time they know exactly what to correct. But even then, taking away their privileges, if they don't know about it ahead of time, like when I tell her in the morning, this is what I'm expecting from you, she knows what to aim for. She knows what the consequences are. And so she's very, very deliberate about the choices she makes. Whereas if I let her run rampant, and then at the end of the day, because I'm exasperated with something else and she's also acting up, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. You're not going downstairs. You don't get to play. Then I get this big sulking fiasco where she wants to throw a temper tantrum, and I have to deal with that as well. So cut to the chase, not allowing for extended periods of lecturing, because she doesn't enjoy it and neither do I, to be frank. But she understands the relationship between her hard work and her earning the right to go blow off some steam and hang out with her friends. I think she understands a little bit better. So I feel like, at least right now, I feel like I'm doing a fairly decent job, and I'm not punishing her like my parents used to punish me, but she has more space to discuss what she likes and doesn't like. She has space to ask me questions or to negotiate with me, and I have the space to actually explain to her in case she doesn't understand why I have her doing things the specific way that I've asked her to. So I don't know how you feel about that. Let me know what you think, but I think this was a major lesson in punishment when I saw the quote from Damari, mostly because what worked for us, I don't think it's going to work for these kids, especially since they have access to so many different viewpoints. Like when we were growing up, we were very, very siloed. We had our house and maybe our cousins' houses. And if it's the cousins' houses, right, chances are all of them are raised the exact same way. So when we go to school and talk to our friends, it's like, shocker, oh my gosh, this isn't how everyone's raised. But here in Singapore in 2020 of all, times, we have so much information at our fingertips. We have so many different cultures that we see on TV. And so it's hard to pretend like this is the best way to do it and it's the only way to do it. And you don't have any other information to contradict what I'm telling you. You see what I'm saying? So I think the discussion works a lot better. It's worked with me and my employees before. It's worked with me and my colleagues before. I think my cousins respect me for being able to express my views and explain why I think the way that I think. My mom and I have finally come to a place where I can speak my mind and she doesn't see it as I'm contradicting her on purpose or I'm talking back to her. We can have a discussion now. So it helps. And I think we avoid a lot more pain and trauma going forward because both of us get to explain our sides. And so we understand what each of the other person's concerns are and then can make, informed decisions going forward. So like I said, when it comes to parenting or any other kind of relationship where you may feel the need to control someone else's behavior or inform them a specific way, influence them to behave a specific way, I think this is important for you to be able to speak your mind and for them to also be able to speak their mind so you can really come to a consensus on what works best. So let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts. But in the meantime, you guys, be nice to each other and try your best not to control the other person, but at least to inform them how you feel about stuff so that they have an idea of where you're coming from. They have context at least. All right? I love you guys. I'll catch you later. Bye.